Hello and welcome back to All You Leaders and Strategy. I'm Mike Harris and I'm joined today on today's podcast by businesswoman, award-winning entrepreneur, Jeevan Punj. So thank you for joining us, Jeevan.
It's a pleasure, Mike.
Yeah, looking forward to this. It should be a good episode, lots of fun.
Yeah, cool.
I like to start these with an icebreaker. And the reason I do the icebreakers is because it's a good way not just to get us into the right thinking for the podcast, but when people are listening to this, they might be out for a walk or listening to it on the train, and their minds aren't necessarily thinking about business and leadership, etc. So I find this is a good way to get people in, the listeners and the viewers back into the right frame of mind to think about leadership and strategy. So we've selected a icebreaker that we've used before on the show, but new for yourself, obviously. So today's icebreaker is: what proverb or mantra do you live your life by and why?
One of the best ones for me really is comparison is the thief of joy.
Okay, elaborate.
And I think originally, that was Theodore Roosevelt that said that, I think. But when you look at life generally, we're constantly comparing ourselves. And in the business world, we are constantly comparing ourselves to either competitors, or this person's doing this, or this person's doing that. But that mantra helps me just to be me.
Yeah.
I focus on what I need to do. So comparison is the thief of joy. And if I just keep comparing myself, I'm never going to get to that point of happiness or joyfulness. If I just be and just concentrate on what I need to do, I get to where I want to be.
Yeah, excellent.
So it helps me anyway in my business life.
I think it's really good. And it's funny, really, because I spend a lot of time with businesses and we look at the competition and we look at competitive advantage. And therefore you do, if you're not careful, spend your whole focus on what are others doing and how do I compare with that. So taking a step back and thinking differently like that and actually focusing just more on yourself, really, and not what others are doing is
absolutely
really good.
Yeah. If you stop looking at the competition, you can start to collaborate. And I think that's what it helps me. It really does help me. So
yeah. And we did a show with somebody recently and they had a philosophy that you should actually try not to be competing with people, because if you stop thinking about them as competition, you can start thinking as them as partners, and how do you share the market differently and work together rather than competing. So kind of ties in with that, really. Yeah, excellent. So the one I'm going to pick for today, and I think I've used it before on the podcast, is that I have a great belief that we need to succeed despite the problems and not fail because of them. In other words, lots of people look at what's ahead of them and they look at the issues and they kind of use that as the excuse to, not to achieve things and not to succeed. And certainly I think in business, and particularly if you're employed in a large company, you're being paid to deliver and succeed despite those problems, not to allow them to fail. So you've got to think about how do I succeed despite the problems. So that's kind of one of my key philosophies.
Really. I think that's very good. Yeah, you have to, because otherwise everybody would just stop.
Yeah, exactly.
There would be no business.
Because the one thing that's guaranteed is there's going to be issues and problems every day. So you've got to find ways of overcoming them. So
that's life, isn't it?
It is, exactly. Particularly in the world that we're in, and what we're trying to do. So I always let my guests do what I call a podcast pitch. So this is almost like an elevator pitch, really, but to a wider audience. You've got a bit longer. So just tell us about yourself. Talk about your business. We've got some show and tell and some product placement that we can talk about. So over to you, just to let us know a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Elite Hampers.
So I'm Jeevan. I'm the founder of Elite Hampers. Elite Hampers was founded in 2021, and it's a corporate gifting business. We make all sorts of gifts, from letterbox hampers to wicker baskets. So I've got a wicker basket behind me here, box hampers, and we like to make them to who we're going to give them to. So we bespoke our hampers. So if you've got somebody that you employ and they've got dietary requirements, or they just love chocolate, or they like something in particular, we create it to that, because when we want to create an experience. When that person opens that box, for example, if it's me and I've just received this lovely hamper, here's chocolate, I'd love it. It's just great, and it makes me feel really like somebody's really thought about me, because they know me. And Jeevan likes chocolate, so it's a chocolate hamper. So it's all about creating a feeling and appreciating people. So when I set up the business, it was to really appreciate people, and people in business in particular, so that people get noticed. So employees, clients, enhanced relationships. It's going to help the business long term anyway. And it's such a simple concept. When I created it, it's just giving. It's just being kind and giving something and making it personal. But it has such a big effect in business. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm also an optician. I've been in healthcare a very long time, and giving is just part of my family. We've always liked to give. I've liked to give, even at work or when I was at uni, school. If I saw somebody that needed something, or Easter, we used to do Easter eggs. Mum used to love doing that. I just like to give. So it just made sense to create, when I wanted to do something different with my life, a gifting company just made sense.
And what brought you from being an optician to doing what you're doing today? Because it's quite different.
Yeah, a bit crazy, right?
Bit of a big step, I would have thought.
Yeah, just be honest, it's crazy, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm still an optician. I loved being an optician when I was practicing more, and it's a career that I wanted to be in because I could help people. A lot of us struggled during COVID, and I did as well. So in 2020, sorry, we lost a lot of work. And I wasn't in a great place because my healthcare environment changed as well. The way we could look after patients, or how I felt in work, changed. And I wasn't happy. I've always been quite a happy person, and it's just part of me. I'm always smiling, and you should have seen me at that stage. I was not happy at all.
Yeah.
And I thought, what else could I do in my life? Because I never tried anything different. And I tell my son, he's 6 now. I tell him, Irene, if you don't try, you don't know. I was being a hypocrite. I was not trying anything, and I'd never done anything different. I just worked myself up. You get a job and you work your way up, and that's what I did. So me and my husband were chatting one night, and I know people that have had businesses, and my sister had her business, and it's something similar. And I thought, what could I do? Could I do it? Could I do a business? I wasn't thinking gifting or anything like that. And me and my husband were just thinking about ideas. What could it be? Could it be an optician? So many things. I thought, what? I want to do something that really means something to me. And I really want to help people like me that struggled in work at times. My husband just said, what gifting company? It makes sense. Oh, why would I want to sell gifts?
Yeah.
You give because you want to give something,
Yeah.
not because you want to sell it. So just think about it. You're still going to be giving, but you're going to be doing it. You're still going to be helping people. And that same night, went on company's house, registered a name. We did a bit of research. What kind of name do we want? And I knew I wanted to do quality stuff. So Elite just came into my head, and I wanted to make hampers.
Yeah.
And then I worked out what I needed to do.
Worked from there, yeah.
It was just literally, there was no plan. There was just a name, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I just worked my way to kind of build a company.
And have you found that skills that you had as an optician have been really useful for this? Or have you had to forget totally what you did before and start from scratch?
Well, I've had to put my ophthalmoscope down, and my equipment I can't use, but the personal skills, I dealt with people all day long, and it's an environment that's very different. You're enclosed in a little room with another person that you don't know. You build certain skills, you get to know people, so it has helped me to an extent. We don't do social media, well, I didn't anyway, and marketing, and your sales stuff, and your networking is a bit different in healthcare. So those skills I've had to kind of really work on. But I think the basic stuff, because we're all people in business, and that's how anything works, right? We're all people. That's really helped me.
The reason I ask is we first met at a expo, didn't we? We had stands opposite each other. And what came across, forget your product for a moment, but what came across is that you're natural in talking to people and being able to explain things and engaging, maybe in a way I'm not actually. I don't think I am a natural in it. So I wondered if that had come from what you'd done before, and, because as an optician, you have to be able to talk to people and get on with people and have a particular I suppose, manner about things and put people at ease. And I just wondered if you'd found that helpful, really.
I suppose it has.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certain things, sometimes we have to deliver certain news that we don't want to, and we've got to do it in a certain way. So you have to look at who you're talking to.
yes,
And empathy and compassion comes a part of a healthcare kind of,
yeah,
if you really want to be in healthcare, you have to be that way. So I think it came part of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have to say, I'm going to say this now in case I forget later. I've actually bought hampers from yourself for customers,
Yeah.
and so a quick plug, I suppose, for the product. I mean, the feedback I got was fantastic, and all three of those customers have been probably my biggest customers for this year so far. So, so it made sense from a personable point of view, giving them a hamper, but it's actually paid off from a business sense as well. So, double benefit there. But they're great. I mean,
Great.
the feedback's been really good.
Thank
So
you.
thanks for and it does make a difference, doesn't it? I mean, it's easy to forget how important people are. Whether it's employees, staff, partners, at work or clients. I think probably we don't say thank you enough, do we?
Yeah. I mean, business gets transactional, doesn't it?
It does,
It's our
yeah.
daily life, and then we go home, but we're dealing with people, and people have feelings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to leave an impression. Either you want to leave an impression on your clients, your employees. You want to treat people right. Treat people right. They want to come back to you, not because of your products. It's not always about the products.
No.
It's about how you've made them feel.
Yeah.
And it's just about being nice.
Funny, really. We filmed an episode this morning, and I'm not sure whether this is going to come out before that episode or after. But the episode is called People are not your most important asset. And the reason for it, and I'm giving the answer to the episode away, but have a watch of it anyway, is that people aren't assets, because assets start to make, if you think that way, it dehumanizes what people do in a business, almost turn, an asset is kind of an accounting term. If you're not careful, it starts to turn people into thinking about people as numbers. And actually, much more important than that, we should be sat above the balance sheet and sat above being thought of as assets. So I think it's funny really what you just said, because that kind of ties back into what we covered in that episode really, which is, it's really important to sort of think about people's feelings and tie into that in business rather than, it's easy to forget it.
It's easy to forget. I mean, I've still got a number. In healthcare, I have my own healthcare number as an optician. And it's easy to just become that number, and you sign off with that number. You're not signing your name; it's just that number.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you want to be, you want you to feel like you're human, and you just want a bit of kindness. And I think a lot of people assume in business, as you progress, or if you're an employee, you're doing a job because you're getting paid, or you're going to get a bigger salary. It's not. It's about the culture around the business and how they're treating you and how you feel at work. Because why would people otherwise leave? You've got people leaving big paid, salary paid jobs,
absolutely.
and you think, why would they leave that?
Yeah.
It's how you treat people. Very simple concept, very simple, but very powerful.
And often forgotten.
Yeah.
Mentioned at the start that you're award winning. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? Because that's quite interesting.
Yeah. So Elite Hampers has won a few awards, and myself. So last year I won a Woman Who Achieves award. And we are also part of Theo Paphitis' Small Business Sunday initiative, which we won at the end of 2023. We've been finalists for a few awards as well. We've just worked hard, and I think it's nice to get that recognition ourselves.
That comes back to the same thing,
doesn't
it? Yeah. What comes around goes around, really.
That's it.
Yeah. And do you find it helps you in business having these awards, or?
Yeah, I think as a small business starting up, it shows other people what you're capable of doing and what you are doing as well, because people aren't just going to award you something for nothing. You've done something for it.
Yeah.
And when I won, I was so happy when I got the Woman Who Achieves award, because when you're writing about yourself, you kind of it doesn't feel real. But when somebody tells you that this is what you've done and this is what
Yeah.
you've achieved, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Felt like I was at school.
Yeah, no,
That's great.
absolutely. Well, I do workshops with clients, and we look at the business, and we put together the business plan for the future. And I have 2 slides that I use for this. And one is people sort of trying to climb up a hill and head down and really struggling. And what I say to them, this probably is how it feels day to day, a bit of a grind, hard work. You always feel like you're trying to climb to the top of the hill. But the second slide I show is this view of the Lake District looking out over the lakes and the hills. And what I say is the first slide is like it feels day to day, but every now and then you need to stop, turn around, look back and see how far you've come. And actually, people don't do that enough. They don't think about what they've achieved, and just don't have to spend a lot of time, but sometimes just think about what you've achieved and pat yourself on the back.
I think we all need to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the little things as well.
Yeah.
When you first start off, you think, how am I going to do this? Social media, that's a big one. I could not use social media. I didn't know what LinkedIn was.
No.
The whole business, I didn't know. And why would I need to be on it? I didn't need to be. And now when I look back, when I do a post, I think when I did my first post, I don't know how many hours it took me to try and work out, or even get an account. I was like, I'm going to mess this up. So you look back and you think, you know what?
Yeah, and now you're an expert in it. I mean, you're like the lead.
You think?
Yeah, LinkedIn queen, I would suggest. Yeah, absolutely. Far better than I am. I'd look at yours and I think, blimey, I've got so much still to do on my LinkedIn. There's me just posting, I've got this client or this has happened, and then you've got these fantastic images of your products.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
I've got the products.
Yeah, it's probably just the fact you've got a photo of chocolate, really.
That's it. People just stop and look.
Just focus at that. Yeah. It draws us all in. So on your website, you've got a page which is the elite story, which I thought was really interesting, and just thought you might want to kind of share that and explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so the elite story on the website, elitehampers.co.uk, is really a little bit about myself, and I wanted to humanize the website. So when people would go on it, they would see a little bit about why I set up a hamper business.
Yeah.
And it just explains a little bit about my background in terms of, as a family, how, seeing people give when you're younger, it influences you. And I've always liked to give as well, and it makes you feel good, appreciating people.
Yeah.
So I put that up there just to make the website seem a little bit personable.
Yeah, but what it does, though, is it for me anyway, it just kind of shows that you're doing this because you have a passion for it, and that it's you're doing it because it's real and it's authentic to you and what you want to do, as opposed to it's just a business and it's a product kind of thing. That's what jumped out for me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, otherwise I'm an optician, right?
Yeah.
So I would have been opening an optician's or something healthcare related, or there could have been so much more I could have been doing, something different. But this really, I was really passionate about it. I've been an employee. I've worked in different workplaces. I've worked in big businesses, and I see how sometimes you can start to feel a bit, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Why am I here? Or nobody even knows I'm here. So I wanted to really go into those places and just say, how do you make people feel, when they're working for you? How do they, day in, day out, do they like being here?
Yeah.
Or how do you recognize them? Do you know it's their birthday? So we created this service, which I love. We do birthday diaries for businesses. We keep a diary for all the employees in a business, and we remind people, the business, normally 7 to 10 days beforehand, such and such's birthday's coming up. What would you like to send?
Yeah.
It's just so that nobody gets forgotten, because, it might seem like a little thing when you've got, let's say, 200 employees, 300 employees, but for that one person in the business,
it's very important.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we started filming and recording the podcast, you mentioned the fact that, or we spoke about, it's probably a better way of putting it, the sort of comfort zone and how you find yourself constantly having to sort of you're working outside of your comfort zone. Just thought it might be worth revisiting that and just allowing you to sort of elaborate that a little bit more, because I found that interesting what you said earlier.
Yeah. So I think everything that I've done in the business has been kind of out of my comfort zone. Um, so networking, social media, things like this.
Yes.
It's out of my
It's
it's
it's outside of mine, and we're on episode 25 or whatever. It's still outside of my comfort
you're a
zone.
pro. You're a pro.
No,
at
I'm
this.
not. No.
But you've got, that's the way you're going to grow though. So if
Yeah.
I just did what I can do and that's it, I stop myself, I wouldn't be growing.
Yeah.
So everything that I do, it might not look like it, yeah, and LinkedIn might look great, but I don't like posting about myself. I don't feel comfortable,
Yeah.
but I do it because I have to. I network because I have to. And things do
And
get
you go to
easier.
the House of Lords because you have to. Mentioned earlier that she was at the House of Lords. When was that? Last week?
Friday, yes.
Friday,
Yeah.
yeah. Name dropping.
As you do.
As you do, yeah.
But yeah.
Because you have to.
Because you have to.
Yes.
Had to use the tube. That was scary.
Well, that's
But,
scary.
but it's, so yeah, being at the House of Lords was, it's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was, again, I did it because you getting out of the comfort zone. There's so many things that I've done. And if you don't, I think we stop ourselves. It's our thought. I think we touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
We stop ourselves from doing things because we tell ourselves, well, I'm not good enough, or I haven't got the
Or it
experience.
didn't work last time, or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Our experiences, we stop ourselves. But if we just clear those thoughts and just look at what it is, okay, I've got to travel to London. Okay, I'll get a train. That's okay. That's fine. I'm going to turn up. There's going to be people. I'm just going to talk.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I don't know anybody. You just cut things up into smaller chunks.
Out
You
of the way,
realise.
really important that is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
But in the moment, sometimes we just tell ourselves, I can't do that. But yeah, comfort zones are things that we do fall into, but breaking those barriers and coming out of those comfort zones really lets you excel.
I find, and I've always found this, that the more I don't want to do something, the more I force myself to do it. So, because for that exact reason that, particularly when I worked in large organisations, and I'd have a big team working for me, and there's days I'd just want to go in the office, hide behind my laptop and not speak to anybody. But they were the days when I didn't sit behind my laptop and hide away. They were the days I went out and spoke to people, engaged with people, because you got to force yourself to do things that you don't, on that particular day you don't want to do. You want to do something different, and I think that's what partly makes it enjoyable, because it's actually taking us somewhere different. But also, it's the difference, I think, between a leader, and we'll talk about leadership in a moment, but in some ways it's the difference between a leader and a manager. A leader, you've got to be out there, you've got to be seen to people. People can't follow you if they don't actually see you, and they don't know what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
I think it's really important for being a leader. So so your comfort zone and sort of doing things differently, I think, is a really important, because it does restrict us, I think, as people most of the time.
Yes.
And some people have I've been told I've got a very broad comfort zone, not much, the perception is there's not much that phases me. The reality is there's loads, but it doesn't really matter if you've got a wide comfort zone or a narrow comfort zone. We're all the same, and we need, to be challenged and to develop. We've got to do some things that we don't think we're going to be comfortable with. So.
Absolutely. And we all have different challenges.
Yeah.
So for one person, it might seem like an easy thing, but for the other, it's quite difficult because we're all different.
Yeah. And often once you've done it, actually it's not as that bad, is it?
Yeah.
It's not as bad as you
like
think.
We're doing this now. It's all right.
Well, and maybe even enjoyable. Who knows? One of the things I like to do to finish the podcast is set some homework for the listeners and viewers, something that they can take away and think about and put into practice themselves. So as you're with us today, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to set today's homework.
Okay, yes. So if you're a new business or looking to set up a business, I would urge you to go and look on your local council website, see what business support is available, because there's a lot out there, and that'll give you a good starting point. Go and have a look what's there and do contact somebody. So that's number one. Number two, get yourself on social media. Even if you don't like it and you don't want to be there, you've got to do it, because that's the way forward. And a lot of businesses, all businesses, have to be on it.
Yeah.
So those are two big things, actually, because your local council, your growth hub, or whatever it is locally to you, can support and help you, but a lot of people don't know about it.
No, and I guess in both of those contexts, whether you're a new business or an existing business, it's just as important if you're an existing business, both of those, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Get that support locally and maximise social media.
Absolutely. Grants, and there's so many different types of business and financial support that you can get, even if you're a big business. Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great fun. I'm going to go off and nick some of your chocolate.
That's going to be gone, isn't it? I'm not going to take that.
You're not going to take that hamper home, no. But as I say, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well.
I have, yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
That's great. And there you go. So today's episode, looking at entrepreneurialism, starting a new business. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you have, you'll come back and join me next time. Not entirely sure what the episode next is, because I'm not quite sure how this is going to slot into the diary, but you'll come back and join us anyway, and we'll be talking about something related to leadership and strategy. I'll see you then.